So I heard about this group of kids that they were all around a little puppy. And they were yelling, they were screaming. And then there was a rabbi walking by them, and he stopped and said, "What are you doing?" And one of the kids says, "Well, we found this puppy here on the street, and we have a little contest here. Whoever can tell the biggest lie is going to take the puppy home." And the rabbi gets furious. And he starts on a spontaneous sermon, 20 minutes. And he starts by saying, "Don't you know that lying is a sin?" And he ended up saying, "When I was your age, I never lied." The kids look at each other. They look at the rabbi. I said, "Okay, rabbi, you won. You take the puppy." So I want to talk to you today about don't fool yourself. You see, I realize, and I say this all the time, we all have dreams, we all have expectations, we all have something that we would like to see happening in our lives. We pretty much design our lives in our head first, and then we go on into doing things to make those things happen. And that is very common, it's very good to have a goal, to have a place where you know that you can go to. But the problem is that in between, life happens. And boy, we learned this during the pandemic. So many times, so many dreams that they got frustrated by external circumstances. But this is just one example. Many other things happen in life that actually are in conflict with things that we would like to see happening in our lives. When we go to school, when we take our first job, we start dreaming about the way we'd like to live, things we'd like to have, and then sometimes happen that we are not really there fast enough, soon enough, things getting delayed, and we start doing something that is not so good. We start taking shortcuts, we start using tricks, we start cheating so we can get what we want a little faster. But we know that the Torah is absolutely against that. One of the values that we learn from Torah is the value of truth and the value that we have to always take the high road in our quest to achieve our goals. And we all know that, yes, for a little while, you can trick the system, you can get things faster, but eventually, life is going to catch you. And then, everything that you thought you got, most likely, we end up losing it. I can give you countless of examples of how this works. People who cheated their ways to the top to then fall lower than they were when they began. People like Lance Armstrong, people like Ben Johnson, that they thought that they were so smart that they could trick the system to go faster to the top. And we all know what happened. Well, if you don't know, you can Google it. Long story short, they destroyed their careers and their reputations, basically. But you see, this week's Parsha, the Torah brings two verses talking about the need of living an honest life. The first one says when you sell or when you buy a property, you have to be careful not to wrong one another. The second verse seems to be a little bit unnecessary because it simply said, do not wrong one another, but fear your God. I am Adonai, your God. And then I would think, but why is the second verse necessary? The Torah already said that you should not wrong one another when you're buying, when you're selling, when you are dealing with business. We got it. But what is this second one that it said you should not wrong one another, but fear your God? And then the rabbis get puzzled by that as well. And when they said the first one is talking about specific things that we all know, that if you break the law, you're going to be punished. There is a specific law said if you cheat on business, what happened? Well, likely you're going to have to pay a fine, or depends on the severity of your transgression. You may even end up in jail. But we all know that there are many other circumstances in life that you can cheat, and even if you get caught, there will be no consequences to you. So the Torah is saying, even in those circumstances, you have to do the right thing, because even if there is no specific law against it, God is still looking at you. And violating that spirit of the law will imply a desecration of the name of God. But there was a rabbi, a very famous Hasidic rabbi, Rabbi Bunim of Peshiska, just a place in Poland, by the way. And he said, yes, it is very important to follow the law. But he continued and he said, but it's also important for every Jew to understand that sometimes we have to go beyond the letter of the law and not only live a life where we don't trick other people, but live a life where we don't fool ourselves. What a beautiful message. Because sometimes what happened is that we get so used to trick others that we end up believing those lies. And we end up fooling ourselves. And you know, when you fool yourself, you're not going anywhere. Yeah, it might feel great for a minute, but then you're not going to achieve anything, because things happen in specific ways, so we can protect ourselves. Let me give you an example. And this is just an example that it came to me last night. In fact, I was going to talk about something totally different today, but as I was listening to the news about the lockdown that is going to start tonight, it came to me, how did we put ourselves in a situation where we have to go to another lockdown again? And you know why? Because we fool ourselves. Because we thought we could outsmart the system. Because we thought that we knew more than the experts. And because of that now, we have to all go through another lockdown. We are experts on finding loopholes. We are experts at doing something that it may look one way, but in actuality something else. And we all know at the end of the day that is wrong, but we are so smart that we might make it look like it's right. And yeah, it might look right, but it's still wrong. And at the end of the day, we're all paying the consequences. So I was thinking last night, what a powerful message. If we can learn from this situation, not only about the pandemic, about the coronavirus, but life in general, that we all know that it's wrong to trick other people when there is a punishment. It's also wrong to trick other people when there is no punishment. But we have to learn that it's also wrong to fool yourself. And how much further we can go in life if we stop doing that. But learning, like Rabbi Bunim said, that tricking others is bad, but tricking ourselves at the end of the day could be even worse. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.